This is an ADC warning. The crimes you're about to see are true. Only the names were changed to protect the ignorant. Tonight, you'll meet two dumb criminals with an extremely short-term memory. Actual surveillance cam footage of two women dressed for arrest. And a crime that's all in a small family. All these and more on America's Dumbest Criminal. Hi, and welcome to the show. I'm Daniel Butler. You know, all crimes are dumb, but some are dumber than others. And then some crimes aren't the dumbest. So what does that say about the criminals who commit the last type of crime? Well, they're America's dumbest criminals. First up, Anthony Underwood remembers how a blockhead tripped up in Below the Belt.
My partner, we stopped in an area convenience store, just making a business check. And this male, with his back toward us, toward the front door, as though he was purchasing some store goods. In his left hand, there was a large plastic sandwich bag, and it had a dark green leafy substance inside of it. And I looked at my partner, he looked at me, and I said, no, this ain't real. As he turned to go out, he saw us, and it was in plain view what was in the bag. So he just hurriedly pushed the door open, and he broke and ran. At that time, his pants started coming down. You know the youngsters these days. He had a belt, but it wasn't adjusted enough to hold his pants up. And he was still holding the dope in his left hand. And he was trying to pull his pants up with the right hand at the same time.
May we suggest suspenders or just get belted? ADC quiz number 372. After burglarizing a house and loading his car with the stolen contents, a thief in Fair Oaks, California made one last trip inside. What did he go back in for? Was it A, the kitchen sink, B, the family dog, or C, to draw a warm bath? The correct answer is C. He had a warm bath. It is a great stress reliever. Almost as good as grabbing your rear and throwing yourself off a diving platform. Now, David Jones spells it out for us. Speed.
And I stopped this, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning. I stopped this lady, and before I can even get out of the car, she's running back.
My son is late for school. I gotta go now.
Oh, she starts running back to our car. I was like, wait a minute, I'll give you a note. So I wrote her a ticket, and she signed it. She had it. Okay.
And now, actual surveillance cam footage we call dressed for arrest. These two women are shoplifters, but not just any shoplifters. These two are masterminds. They're suspected of shoplifting $60,000 worth of clothing across 11 states. Having been warned of their arrival, officials first spotted the two getting off a plane, then followed them to the mall where the two set up shop, shoplifting. These ladies took numerous articles of clothing into the fitting rooms, but when they came out, they had none. They just had suspiciously bigger, bulging purses. Police trailed them back to their hotel room, where they found another $2,500 worth of clothing, a bag full of anti-theft tags, and about 30 fake driver's licenses, plus a map of their next targets. These two are currently dressed in gray and unable to check out. Now, Paul Heaton teaches a numbskull that it's all relative.
To serve on an individual who had about 6 brothers. All these brothers would interchangeably use each other's name when stopped by the police. Only one of them I knew definitely. I knew him by face and knew his real name. So I went and knocked on the door, and one of the brothers came who I did not recognize. And I gave the name of the one that I knew.
I'm here to serve a warrant on a Mickey Miller. Is that you?
You could see the relief on his face when I gave the other name. He said,
I'm Randy Miller. Randy?
Because he knew he didn't have to lie. The warrant wasn't on him. Well, it was.
No. I'm Randy Miller. Randy Miller. Nice to meet you. You're under arrest. Oh, no, come on, man. No. Come on, that's my brother.
I said, come on.
Later on tonight's show, you'll see the profoundly ignorant tooling around town. If you're a police officer, active or retired, and you have stories of idiocy in crime, please contact us at America's Dumbest Criminals, Post Office Box 1628, Franklin, Tennessee 37065. We do compensate officers for stories, and you can reach us on the internet. Due to a typographical error, we erroneously reported last week that many of the criminals portrayed on this show are members of the Mensa Society. What we meant to say was that most criminals are a menace to society. Next up, an undercover officer gives a dumb criminal the finger.
My partner and I were in a known drug area when we spotted a white male who was riding a motorcycle and a white female in a car. The man was following much too closely for her. We decided to pull him over and ask him to quit following so close. We turned on blue lights and sirens and attempted to pull him over. He attempted to turn off on another road and lost control of the motorcycle and went down.
Stay right where you are, sir.
He jumped right up, and there was a small fence that obviously he didn't see. So I pointed my fingers at him, and I said, "Sheriff's Department." My partner said, "Shoot him." The man said, "Oh, my God, no, don't shoot me."
Going to jail. Your finger.
We found out why he was running. He had 3 warrants out for his arrest, and I got him with this.
In New Mexico, it used to be against the law for a taxi driver to force a customer into a cab. Fortunately, it's still against the law for a pilot to force a passenger out of the plane. Next, a tipsy mush for brains gives a policeman a ride on the merry-go-round. When Officer Tony Jordan sighted a pickup truck driving erratically, he directed the intoxicated driver into a mall parking lot. However, the chase didn't end there, at least not exactly. The officer got out of his car, approached the pickup truck, and then the driver continued to drive at 10 miles an hour in a circle right in front of the police officer. He was discreetly trying to get rid of any evidence by throwing beer cans out the window as he guzzled them. Round and round he went on the merry-go-round of life, drinking and driving, driving and drinking. Eventually, the man was caught. He was charged with DUI, driving on a suspended license, stolen tags, resisting arrest, and littering. Not only was the man wearing a bad wig, but he was also dizzy. And now, Bruce Harper of Las Vegas tells us a story we call Door Knockers.
We got a call of a family fight at one of an apartment complex, and we went to the complex, and we didn't know exactly where it was at. Someone said it was an unidentified caller said it somewhere in the complex they're fighting. So as we go around, we hear doors slamming. So we hear door slam. So we start identifying where it's at from the door slamming. So we walk up and we finally pick out the apartment that it's coming from, and we hear the door slam and stuff fall off the wall. So we knock on the door, we take our position on each side, not know what we're going to find. We knock on the door, and this lady opens it up, stark naked, and starts yelling. It's about time. Apparently, whoever she was expecting was running late, and she was getting impatient. And when we came to the door, she thought we were her date. So she's standing there looking at us, and then she's grabbing stuff to cover herself. She was quite surprised when we showed up instead of her date.
Now, we take you inside the courtroom for trial and error. From actual courtroom transcripts, an officer tells us about some car thieves who went just a little too...
You stated that the suspects had stolen a number of cars in the past 2 years, correct?
Yes, ma'am. 25.
And what happened at that hearing?
Well, they were released from custody, realized they didn't have enough money for the bus, so they stole number 26.
Coming up later, a high-speed chase that the police really love because it came complete with visual aids. get caught missing this week's America's Dumbest Criminal. This week on America's Dumbest Criminals. You'll meet two dumb criminals with an extremely short-term memory, surveillance camera footage of two women dressed for arrest, and a crime that's all in a small family. All dumb, all the time. America's Dumbest Criminals. Next, Jerry Potts recounts glaring doltishness in a case called Late Again.
We stopped an individual coming across the Bay Bridge locally here. He was speeding, and as the officer stopped him, got out of the car, walked up there to him, he asked the guy, he said, "Why were you going so fast?" And he looked at the guy, officer, and he said, "You know, I was going to the courthouse to pay the last ticket. I'm late."
And now, actual surveillance cam footage of the doorman. Normally, this surveillance camera pans the entire parking lot. However, now it's broken, stuck on one small section. Knowing this, the security guard parked his own car in the one spot where it would be on camera. So guess which car a dumb criminal decides to break into? The thief acts fast, running up to the car, opening the door and jumping in. Then, to his dismay, he's unable to hotwire the car. So, he decides to steal the radio. Unfortunately for him, in tearing apart the dashboard, he turns the lights on. His attempts to turn the headlights off only cause the lights to boost up to high beam. Finally, he pulls out the radio and hands it off to a friend. At this point, officials were still until they pulled up in the camera in their own vehicles. The police instantly recognized the automobiles of a car theft team they had arrested just last month. Next, Officer Buddy Tidwell takes us out with a truckload of dumbos and tooling around.
Not too long ago, there were some unfortunate transient thieves going along the interstate, and one night they decided that it was time for them to get off the interstate. They went to the rear lot of this roofing business and saw that there was a truck there loaded with tools, and it was fairly easily accessible, so they got into the truck, hot-wired it, broke out with the truck full of tools, and left. The following morning, the roofing company called and asked for a policeman to come by and take a report on the stolen truck and tools. So, the policeman I know was going there.
So, you guys in the roofing business too, huh?
He got a second call as he was responding there, and the burglars had shown back up with the roofing company truck with the same logo on the side, attempting to sell the truck to the people they stole it from. Apparently, they didn't know the area that well, and they'd only seen the back of the business. So when the officer arrived, he locked them up.
In North Carolina, it used to be against the law for a woman to wear shorts in public. The punishment was a swift kick in the butt. Next, Steve Parnell recalls a meeting of the half minds in AKA.
I was working a wreck. Now, it's all confusing and everything. I mean, the car is in the middle of the street, and there was witnesses that saw the wreck. They were standing on the side. Got traffic going north and south, traffic coming up 2nd Avenue. Traffic is going very well. So finally, we got to the witnesses, right? And this one girl, she's like, I know what happened. I know what happened. So I goes up to her with my pad out, and I say, okay, did you see what happened? Yes, I saw everything that happened.
See this fool in this brake truck right here? He comes flying around the corner, man, and just said, bam, and with dead smack to that clown right
I said,
there.
what's your name? She says, you want my real name?
You mean my real name?
And she said, well, I didn't want to give you my real name, because I didn't know he's going to run me in or not. And I said, yes, I want your real name. What you think? How was your play name?
Ask it.
That was the dumbest thing I heard in a while.
Our legal department has advised us to make the following announcement. Some meatheads referred to on this show may actually contain up to 50% soy filler. Now, Doug Baldwin of Pensacola takes a bite out of crime with dogged determination.
We were chasing this car one day. This guy had just committed a narcotics transaction, and we started chasing this car. So during the chase, the guy stopped the car and jumped out of the car and started running. And during the chase, he ran into this fenced-in compound where there's signs all around that says guard dog on duty. So I saw him through the fence line, but I'm very hesitant to go inside the compound because of the guard dogs. And he comes back towards the fence, and I jump over the fence and I handcuff him. And as we're walking out the compound, these two attack dogs started running after us, and we took off running, both of us. I did the best I could to keep him from being bit, but, you know, there's signs all around the compound. He chose that compound to go in. I thought that was pretty dumb.
Arf, arf, arf. No. Against the law for a woman to take a cigarette from a man. So men found other ways to take their breath away. Next, Floyd Hyde takes us on an unintentional high-speed chase.
Okay, I was dispatched to a personal injury accident, and of course, when there's somebody that's injured in an accident scene, that takes priority over everything else. So to get to the accident scene the shortest distance, I was going to use the interstate system, and as I merged onto the interstate running blue lights and siren, I fell behind this Trans Am. And when I did, he was doing the speed limit, but he suddenly sped up, and it was evident that he was starting to try to outrun me. I couldn't pursue him. I was on my way to where somebody was hurt. Well, as I got up to my exit, I figured that he would continue on the interstate. Instead, he made the exit also. Well, that was fine. I kept telling the dispatcher where we was at, but I wasn't going to change my response route to the collision scene. When we got off the exit, he turned left. That's the way I needed to go. We continued on to my next turn, and he made the same turn. Every time that I needed to make a turn to get to the accident, he made the same turn. And this continued all the way through in a pursuit mode as far as he was concerned, a route. And as we got to the accident scene, there was another officer that got to the scene just before me, and he was there to take care of the injured, so I was going to continue with the pursuit. But when we got to the accident scene, I saw smoke and fire coming from his engine, and he blew up his engine. So he had to stop at the collision scene also. And then the only reason he was running is he had a suspended license. That was it. If he wouldn't have sped up when I fell behind him, I would have passed him and went on to the collision scene. If he would have stayed on the interstate, I would have let him go because I had to get to the collision. But he took every turn that I needed to take. He was just going my way.
In criminology, this is known as dumb luck. And with that, we reach the end of the lineup. Our thanks to the men and women of law enforcement who gave us the stories. And please join us again next week when once again we open the files on America's dumbest criminals. I'm Daniel Butler saying, hey, don't be dumb. Don't break the law. Good night.